Well, someone is early.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. We are just getting rolling. So, we're going to let people come in. I'm going to go refill my tea because my voice has
Good.
been a little strained
Okay,
and
that's good, Rabbi. Go
we'll
get the
be
tea.
good. We're
Yes.
in, we're enjoying it. And you know what? You can stay unmuted for now and just tell everybody that, we're looking forward.
Okay. Yes, boss. I will.
I will mute everybody once we get going.
Okay,
But
but
for
I will
now,
do
you're
it.
in charge of saying hi, everybody, when they come in.
Okay, that's exciting, Rabbi. Okay.
Giving you a major job here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know, I know, I know.
Okay. I'm
Okay,
ready.
good. I'll be right back.
Hi, welcome. Rabbi is going to get some tea. And since I was on first, he told me to welcome you and say hello. I'm watching too. So
Hello.
uh, yeah. Hi, I'm Susan. I'm in the audience, but he's getting tea. And since he's the rabbi, I said, yes, boss.
Good idea.
Yeah. He said once we all get started, he's going to put everybody on mute. But yeah. Where are you guys calling in from? I'm calling from Georgia.
Fort Lauderdale.
Ocala, Florida. So we're neighbors.
Just about.
It's great, California. I grew up in Hollywood, Florida.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
That's right next door.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah.
Well,
Are
Little
you,
Ocala is becoming, I think, the fastest growing city in the US. So
Yeah,
I'm told.
absolutely.
Yeah. We're losing that small town feeling, unfortunately.
hmm. What's the weather like there now?
Fabulous.
Yeah,
90 and sunny.
that's good.
It's about 10 degrees difference here from South Florida.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, you're not far from Orlando then, right?
About an hour and 15 minutes, something
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah. I was a commercial real estate broker in South Florida years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I know that area well. 23 years I lived in South Florida. Yeah.
So what did you a commercial? So you built a lot of Home Depots, Lowe's, McDonald's?
No, I was a commercial real estate broker.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So moved a lot of companies down and worked with the CEOs and presidents of the companies.
Okay, it looks like there's a lot of folks joining. Uh, I'm just a attendant, but the rabbi's getting some tea and asked me to just say hello to everybody and welcome everybody and to just hold, please. He will be back.
This is the first session.
I think so. Yes.
It's a wonderful idea.
We can hear you, Mark. Well, I want to hear you.
Yeah, it's
Unmute.
going to
Yeah.
be for 2 hours. And this is the first annual event. We've never done this before, but we do have fantastic webinars at least once a month with very interesting speakers. And some of them are going to be here today.
Mhm.
I'm actually trying for twice a year, I think. Watching this one happen and seeing the energy and seeing the excitement, I wouldn't be surprised if we could pull this off twice a year. It's a building thing, everybody that you get the first time. I want to make sure that everybody got an invitation. If you have not created a team, a page of your own, that is something you can do right now. Um, Gosh, Ali's not. Oh, Ali is in, but she's still working on the YouTube for us. Um, Let me see if I can get the link then. As we allow everybody else to come in. Yep. Okay. I've got the correct link for everybody. Chat. Hello, chat. There we are. Message everyone. This is how to go create your very own page in our campaign. And if you go to the website of the campaign, which is what you get when you remove that pound join at the end, I can do that here. You can see that we have like 10, 20 teams. What is it, Mark?
You're on mute, Mark, you're muted.
Yeah, Mark, you're still muted.
Closer to 20.
It's closer to 20. Yeah, so we definitely can welcome more people in to the fold of creating them. And obviously, the campaign really did come off the ground. I want to make sure that we give a special shout out and a thank you to the matchers, Hal Berenson, Michael and Andrew Levin, Gary and Vicky Earlbaum, and a couple of anonymous supporters so that we can match up to $75,000 in this campaign. So we're looking for everybody to help us get that support, make this happen, and we're looking forward to a brilliant program today and a brilliant event over the next 3 days.
So Will, are you planning on us meeting for 3 days in a row?
Oh no, this is a one-time launch event.
Okay.
This is a
All right.
special event. We got a couple of guests. Is Rabbi Smason on with us yet? In fact,
I don't see him.
Rabbi
Yeah.
Mason's only going to be able to join until later. He has to officiate at Levaya, unfortunately.
oh, that's right. But the schedule that you just shared, I'm blaming you. Aren't you sending me something for the YouTube?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm
And
just sending out another. I realized I didn't send out the send starting now email to our list. I'm going to send everyone the Zoom link on our email list.
Oh, good idea. But at the same time, I believe Rabbi Mason was to be our first guest. So we have to move him. You know what? That would be a very good time then to move. Remember, we said at 3 o'clock we have that little open window. Why don't we put Rabbi Mason in then?
I already rearranged it. We can do questions at 3 o'clock. Rabbi Mason's only available for 3:40, but Ricky's actually going to be joining us in 5 minutes for his part. So.
Oh, okay. In fact, wait a minute. I thought I saw Ricky already.
He's
Yeah,
on.
Yep. I'm asking Ricky to unmute.
Ricky's a Yeki, so he's always early.
There you go. Okay, so the reason why Ricky Vigon is the master of ceremonies of the of Chesed Fund, aka CrowdSpark, who provided the platform that is making all of this possible. So he is with us today to talk about all the technical stuff that you hear who are participating in this Zoom, and everybody who's watching later will be able to learn, how to kind of share the word and get more people to be donating to the campaign and get them involved. So what I'd like to do to start us off then is to turn it over to Ricky to kind of give us that technical start. And you know what? I want to say one quick thank you because recent donations. Oh my goodness. Susan Miles, David Silverberg just joined us with donations since this program has started. So that's fact. Just before. And thank you guys. Wonderful to have these gifts. Ricky, why don't you go ahead and show us around and recommend what people should do?
Wonderful, wonderful. Hi, everyone. Firstly, thanks everyone for being here. As we said in a meeting we had last week with some ambassadors, that you are the glue that hold this campaign together. The power of a crowdfunding campaign, as opposed to more typical, what I would call, executive director to donor fundraising, is that we are reaching out to a group of people. We're reaching outside of the organization's reach. And we're doing that with you guys. We're doing that because your networks obviously expand outside of the organizations that you care about. And therefore, by tagging you guys in, you can partner with us and help us create an amazing campaign. So I don't have a lot of time. I want to quickly show you how to make a page. I'm going to do it myself, so it makes it super easy for you. And then we're going to discuss, a couple of best practices once we have our page. Now, first and foremost, the importance of a page, as opposed to just sending someone to the main campaigns page, is that the fundamental rule of crowdfunding is people give to people more than they give to organizations. So while yes, we have a lot of people that love the organization and are connected, there are more people that are connected to us individually, and therefore when we reach out and we share our page, we are saying this is an organization I care about immensely. And I know you care about me immensely because that's why I'm reaching out to you. I have taken on a goal. And again, it's super important we choose a goal. Again, we're not saying that I'm committing to doing this, but we are saying that this is what I would like to achieve. It's important we reach a goal because let's say we take on a goal of $1,800 and we're doing great. We have $900 on our page. So when our friends and our family go to our page and they see we're 50% there, they're motivated to get us across the finish line. So as Rabbi shared a moment ago, I'm going to share again. This is the link, and let me share my page. And first, oh, Ali, can you give me permission to share my page, please? Or Rabbi, if you are the host.
A, I think that's my department. B, host tools for share. Who can share? Okay, as of now, you should be able to share.
I'm wonderful. I can indeed. Okay, sharing, and you can see my screen, right? Right?
It just came up. Yep, we've got the
Amazing, sweet.
campaign.
This is the amazing page. This for the next few days is where our campaign is going to live. Hopefully, we are going to, surpass all expectations and jump into bonus rounds and continue doing amazing stuff. So once we get here, we are going to see that there is a page that says create or join a team. If you use the link I just sent you, it's going to bring you straight to this page. And again, it's super simple. We're going to add our information. And hopefully, within a moment, down here, we're going to show how much we've raised. We're going to want to be notified when we receive a donation because that's super important. Because when, someone donates to our page, we want to thank them. If we can thank them publicly, amazing. If you have social media, if you have WhatsApp, make a status. Thank you so much to so and so who donated, and then put your link to the page because then more people are going to see it. I cannot tell you how many people tell me from putting a WhatsApp post or a WhatsApp status message thanking someone else for making a donation and then linking their own page, how many donations they get from people that they didn't even think to ask personally. Okay, and send a welcome email. This is important because this is where you're going to get your own personal link. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to register a team. And as simple as that, I have my own personal team page. Okay, so now we have a team page. What are we going to do? So firstly, we're going to make a list, and we're not going to check it twice because that's not what we do, but we are going to make a list, and we're going to figure out who do we want to phone? Who do I know that I am connected to that cares about me, but also in this situation, cares about the Jewish people, cares about Jewish values, and I can reach out to them. So obviously, we tell people the closer the connection that you can connect to someone, the greater your ability to fundraise from them will be, which means a phone call is more impactful than a text or WhatsApp message. A personal text or WhatsApp message is more impactful than an email. An email is more impactful than a carrier pigeon. A carrier pigeon is more impactful than Morse code, and so on and so forth. As much as we can have a personal connection with someone and let them know, that's what we want to do. So we're going to reach out to people. We're going to tell them about this amazing organization. And what we've done is we've created a automatic call script. This top banner here of sponsorship opportunities are wonderful for you because we find when we ask for something specific, we will exponentially increase the amount of donations that we can give from a person. If you just send your link out to someone and they say, "Oh, this amazing cause and it does this, can you give a donation?" So they will generally give their standardized donation, whatever that might be. Some people have $18, some people have $18,000. There are many different people that give many different things. If you know someone that will give $18,000, you can just send them the general message and we will take that donation from them, thankfully. But if you're speaking to someone, if you're sending someone a personal message, take a look at our sponsorship opportunities bar here and see something that speaks to you and you feel that you can express passionately, or also something that you might feel speaks to the person that you're asking money for. So as an example, even on the bottom level here, $180. So they can sponsor a media appearance for $180 and you'll ask them for that specifically. The beauty of it is, if someone wants to get this, but they don't have $180 right now, they can still get the schus, the merit of giving a $180 donation, but they can split it over 12 months. So for $15 a month, they've been able to give something bigger than just a single donation. And again, that works down the line all the way through to our largest ticket items. If someone's given $18,000 to sponsor an international chapter launch, which is an amazing thing that someone can have their name on a chapter. So again, they can make a donation, or for $1,500 a month, they can do it as well. So generally, if someone can give larger and you enable them to spread it out over months, you enable them to give more. And then also, like I said, when you ask for something specific, when someone's tzedakah is going to something specific as opposed to a general donation, we find they give more. Okay? I don't know how much. Ali will tell me when she'll put the red light when I have to stop talking, and I will. Or
Well,
someone
actually,
shouts.
I have a question, which
Yes.
is that Congressman McCormick's team. I see Team McCormick in the chat, and I'm thinking that that's Congressman McCormick's people. So I've just asked. Yes, hi.
Hi, this is Ann. He's at the airport. I think he got through security, so I was just jumping on to and I texted with Mark. I think he should be joining shortly, but I'm kind of there just to make sure he does.
Okay, no, fine, 100%. We'll be waiting, and obviously, when he does show up, please cut in on us. Okay.
Yes,
Sorry,
sir. Thank you.
Ricky, keep flying.
Okay, sounds good. So like we said, the process is this. You have a page, you share your page, you thank for donations. But like we said at the beginning, we're going to have a list. Who are we going to reach out to? If we are prepared, if we plan, then we will succeed. So the general process applies. No, most people here are probably not professional fundraisers. Some of us are probably in sales, and we know that follow-up is key. So how do we do follow-up? So again, we follow up respectfully. There's going to be two types of follow-up that we're going to run into. Follow-up number one is going to be we phone someone, we message someone, and we didn't get through to them. But again, these are our friends, these are our family, these are people that care for us, these are people that care for Klal Yisrael and the Jewish people and Jewish values. Obviously, they want to hear from us. Obviously, they want to hear about this incredible campaign. Obviously, they want to have a merit in partnering with you. So again, we're going to make a list and we're going to make a note. Follow up with so and so, and we'll try them again in a few hours or maybe the next day, etc., etc. And again, we don't want to be aggressive. We don't want to be pushy. I would say once a day for the campaign, and maybe if we didn't get through to them after the campaign a few days, the campaign link will still be open. People will still have the ability to donate. They might not have the match on anymore, which is such an incredible incentive. Not only can someone give and sponsor something specific, but at least for the first 75,000, and I'm sure Rabbi is working on getting some more matches so we can maybe even push that further. But at least in the beginning, if someone gives $100, it's actually worth $200 because dollar for dollar we have a match. So again, that's number one. Number two is we speak to someone and they say, "This is incredible. I would love to donate to this cause. Please send me the link." And you send them the link, and their life gets busy. Their kids need them, their parents need them, their school needs them, their work needs them, their spouses need them, and they forget to donate. And it's okay again. So what we're going to do, again, make a note. So and so said they would give. We're getting an email. Every time someone gives to our page, we know. Oh, Ricky Vigon donated to my page. Going to check off it, give him a nice check, send him a thank you, put a thank you out to the world. Amazing. So it comes day 2, and I say, oh, Joe Schmo said he would donate. He hasn't donated yet. I'm going to send him a quick message. Thank you so much for committing, saying you would donate. Here's the link one more time. Please let me know if you have, and if you need help doing it, and I can help take you through the process of finishing. So again, the same of any sales position, the same of any fundraising position. Follow-up is going to be key here. And we have a small window. You know, the campaign is live only for a few days. And there's a reason for that. Because we want you guys to be invested. We want you guys to kind of be intense in these three days. That is the second secret of crowdfunding. The second secret of crowdfunding is the snowball effect. When we have many, many people come into a common goal and everyone's pushing and everyone's phoning their friends, it creates a bit of excitement. As the numbers go up, we reload our page. Someone else donated. I got a donation. Someone I know gets a donation. And that we want to keep that going, but we're very real with the fact that everyone has their lives. And everyone has their regular schedules, whether it's family commitments, work commitments. So we can only have that intensity for a limited amount of time. So what I would suggest for you guys, because again, it's also very hard to be committed for the full length of the campaign. Say, I'm going to be committed 1 hour a day for the next 3 days, whatever it might be. And that's when I'm going to focus on getting what I can do for this campaign. I'll end on one more point and then open up just the questions if anyone needs. Last point is, if you surpass your goal, then keep going. It's okay. A goal is just a suggestion, and we've had campaigns where people really surprise themselves. They surprise themselves of how passionate they feel for the cause. They surprise themselves of how passionate their friends are about the cause, and they surpass their goals. So we can keep going. There's no need to stop. You know, this is our first campaign together. We always say the first campaign, you know, we're testing the waters. We don't have an experience. Often when we're trying to figure out how much a campaign can raise, it comes from knowledge. Okay, if it's a school, it's very easy. There's X amount of parents, there's X amount of students. A campaign like this, which has such global and national reach, we're really unsure. So if you're flying, if you're doing great, let us know. We can increase your goal. Keep pushing, keep motivating people. And I will add one more point and then finish on this. Like we said, rule number 1 of crowdfunding is people give to people more than they give to causes. So if you know anyone that may already be involved but hasn't yet made a page, or someone that you know that you care about but also would care tremendously about this organization, even though they might not be super familiar with right now, if you can get them to take on a page, that's even more impactful than getting the donation, because then what you're doing is you're expanding to their network. And networks are key here. You know, our network is our net worth. As much as we can expand our network and bring that network into what's happening over here and into all of the rabbis involved with this organization and all of the lay leadership and all of the staff, then we can really do and start making incredible things. So if anyone has any questions, I will open the floor.
You know what? If you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand under reactions in the Zoom chat, because I will need to know to unmute you. We're also, Team McCormick, we're still waiting. Oh, wait a minute. Team McCormick just now came in a second time. So I'm going to suspect that that's the congressman joining us, Ricky.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, isn't it?
Hey guys, I wish I had perfect timing for everything, but happy to be with you today.
That was really quite good. That was very slick. Congressman McCormick is joining us from an airport. Where are you? Where are you flying from and to? Do we get to know that, or is that something that would violate national security?
I think I'll be all right in this case. I'm going from Atlanta up to DC today. We shifted our schedule this week, but I couldn't get out of the meetings I had already proposed for Monday and Tuesday. Actually, it'll be good for me to be up there and get some real work done before the hearings start on Wednesday. So that's where I'm going right now. In fact, I'm boarding my airplane in about 25 minutes.
There's a fight to be fought, and in these 20 minutes, it's obviously brilliant to have you back with us. For those who don't know, Congressman McCormick joined us several weeks, was it a month ago already at this point, that you are our special guest for a webinar talking about all the things that we are, able to work on together. And the point that we want to be able to share out to people is, people don't realize a lot of our efforts are done behind the scenes. I don't know if you were monitoring this, but it made a big deal in the Jewish community that the president actually encouraged everybody to observe Shabbat this last weekend as if it were a patriotic act to observe Shabbat. And he actually got the whole movement started of people going. The chief rabbi of South Africa, who's run a Shabbos project for years, got very excited about this. People don't know that I was actually the first person to propose to the administration that we've got to link the two together, because July 4th is going to be Shabbat also. So there's got to be a way that we can link Shabbat and patriotism and talk about what a great country this is while we are talking about, while we're observing our Sabbath. And the administration came back and turned around with this, which is absolutely phenomenal. But that's the kind of impact that we get to have. And I wanted to talk to, get you another chance to talk to this refreshed audience on all the things we're able to work on and push forward together.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be with you today. We always say one team, one fight. Know who your friends are, know who your enemies are, know what's at stake, know what's in line with the American traditions, with the economy, with peace, with people who get along versus people who don't get along. And eventually, a lot of people try to stay neutral, but there's no staying neutral in this fight. There's none. That's the problem. And a lot of people think they can make everybody happy. You can't make everybody happy, especially when one people is talking about destroying another people or eliminating their country or protesting the fact that they even live here in the United States. That's a significant problem and needs to be addressed head on. So I hope people pick sides rather than stay neutral. I always like to quote Dante, the hottest places in hell are reserved for those in a moral crisis, reserve their neutrality. This is no time to be neutral.
Well, what do you think is the impact of having a Jewish organization come forward that is unabashedly pro-biblical values and very loud about it, the way that we are? What do you think we're adding to the dialogue in Washington?
It's accountability, right? Making people realize this fight's been around since the beginning of time. This is good versus evil. This isn't just about interfaith relationships, although it really boils down to that, because there are certain faiths that literally espouse to violence, to eliminate anybody who thinks differently, to not allow dialogue. Sure, there's differences between the Jewish and Christian faith, very significant differences, but we coexist very well. We realize that one was born out of the other. There's some dispute over some important dialogue, but doesn't mean that we get to kill each other. Matter of fact, it means we actually respect each other and work towards an end where we believe in the same God and the same salvation and the same faith and grace and peace and all those things that go with it. But we certainly cannot stand by while people are violent against us. Remembering always that even though Jerusalem and Israel indeed is called the Satan, we are the great Satan here in the United States. We are forever linked, whether we like it or not. This is definitely, as I said before, one team and one fight.
Yeah, the founding fathers apparently looked at the book of Deuteronomy more than any other source when they try to figure out how to create a country. And that's where you get this idea, that these are classical biblical values applied to public policy that really built the country. And I honestly believe that all people of, it doesn't matter exactly how you approach the faith differences and the chasm that exists there. Obviously our faiths have real differences, like you said. But the fact that when it comes to public policy, what do you want to see happen in America? There's this one specific carve out that is not, it's not necessarily the biblical model where we say we've got to have religious liberty where everybody gets to do it together, because that's the only way you got the Anglicans in Virginia and the Puritans in Massachusetts and the Mennonites and the Amish in Pennsylvania all able to get along. And that created the country. But everything else, it's all out of the Bible. the accountability, like you were saying, the fact that the president himself does not have ultimate power over the country and over any individual. He's not a king. The no kings protest. Yeah, we know. You know, it's all that idea that we are actually working together to promote something different. I know that you have to sign off, but I wanted you to get final comments on that.
You know, I think again, there's one specific religion that has no tolerance, and it creates a lot of angst and violence in American folks. That's why we need to be very careful about who immigrates here. And I'm not trying to be racist at all. In fact, there's plenty of friends I have here in my district who are from even Palestine, Christian Palestinians for that, Palestinians for that matter. But when it comes to this friendship that we have, this dialogue that we have, this common belief in a common good and a common law, and our law was born actually from the Testament, if you will, whether it be New Testament, Old Testament. Jefferson studied it. Actually, even the Constitution was specifically designed. There's a great book called Who's King in America? It talks about the design of the Constitution, which is everything that this nation is founded on. Every law comes from the Constitution, which was biblically founded. So we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot to believe in together. And I'm really appreciative for you guys working with me on things that we can get across the finish line. I think you'll see that we're very pragmatic in what we can and can't do and very honest about it. But I believe in each other and in this team that we are.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Congressman. You know what, Ali? I don't have now the power to unmute our guests, so I need you to unmute Dumasani so we can go on. And thank Congressman McCormick. Have a great flight, obviously. Safe flight back to Washington. Great work.
It's always a pleasure. Look forward to continued dialogue with you. I hope you guys visit when you're in DC. When you come around my office, I'm in Longworth 1719. And when you're in Atlanta, anybody who wants to come visit me there too. Love you guys, and I mean that sincerely. I say that publicly. Look forward to working with you into the future.
Thank you so much.
My honor.
All right. So we're going to go over to our next guest, right? You know, the schedule is moving quickly, but I think we're doing pretty well here. Dumasani Washington, Pastor Washington also joined us on a previous webinar and has been a great advocate for the Jewish people as the director for the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. Dumasani is currently in Ghana and is joining us from there. Wait a minute. Now I see he went back to being muted. Ali, I need you to unmute the pastor. And actually, if you could make me host again, it would be better.
It should be.
Yeah, see if you can.
There we go. All right.
Yes, sir.
Dumasani, thank you so much. Ali, could you please make me host again? Just pass it over. Pass the baton.
I think you need a request to be host again.
Or
and then I can
make me.
I'll see what I can do.
Oh, wait, I got it. Reclaim. You are the host now. Look at me. I got the power. Sorry. Dumasani, take it away. And thank you so much for being with us again.
Rabbi, thanks for having me. And again, hello, everyone. Yeah, I am in Accra, Ghana now as part of the work that we do. So I'm not sure about the Wi-Fi, so someone will have to let me know or flag me if it freezes or whatever. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. And yeah, I'm in a hotel. It's a long story. I almost missed this, but by the grace of God, it popped up. So again, Rabbi, it's always good to be with you and appreciate the work that you do there. We've known each other for several years now. I am the founder and the CEO of the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. It was founded in 2013 after my first trip to Israel in 2012. December 2012. I went as a part of the African-American delegation of Pastors with Christians United for Israel. Back in, it was Hanukkah around that time. I was already a strong supporter of Israel, but had never visited the land before. Was excited to do it and was commissioned, for lack of a better term, to do the work of strengthening both the Black, the Jewish, and the Africa-Israel alliance. That is very historic. We say in our organization that the first ever Africa-Israel summit was when the Queen of Sheba visited Solomon in Jerusalem 3,000 years ago. And of course, when it comes to the United States, this synergy, this working together in terms of communities for rights, for education, all those things. It probably had its beginning during the time of the early 1900s with Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald, who went on to, with that synergy, build some 5,400 Rosenwald schools throughout the segregated South. And again, for those of you who may not be aware, Julius Rosenwald's rabbi was one of the founding members of the NAACP. So I could go on and on about the history that's there between the communities. And I felt, again, God placed it on my heart to start this organization, which its first and foremost, its focus is education.
Dumasani muted out again. I don't know why, but I'm asking to unmute. There you go. You're back.
Okay, there you go, sir. I'm sorry. So let me know if it does that again. I'm not sure what happened. And so we do the education arm of what we do through digital, through podcasts, through writing or books, and also articles. We have on our Substack, it's called Africa Israel Weekly, where we unpack these issues when it comes to everything from combating anti-Semitism to the Africa-Israel relationship and how that resonates, not just here where I am now in Africa, and I'm in an event, he also say something about that in a second, but also throughout the country, as it has impacted the Black community in a very, very unique way. We often say in our education that when it comes to the Arab-Israeli conflict itself, it has uniquely impacted the Black community because of the level, the amount, and the kind of propaganda that would be directed at the Black community, particularly started in the late 1960s by the KGB foreign PLO, which is why Yasser Arafat would specifically target Black leaders. This was especially after Dr. King's assassination. Dr. King, as many of you know, was very, very strong and proud Zionist, as was the vast majority of the civil rights community. Those things began to whittle away with the attacks that were focused on the Black community, particularly after his death. He was assassinated in '68. Unironically, Yasser Arafat became the chairman of the PLO in 1969, and there became a more and more concerted effort with both Soviet and Arab powers to key in on Black leaders for the purpose of using the anti-Israel message as a civil rights message. And this is why, fast forward to today, one of the main reasons why you see colleges, universities, not just because of a leftist mentality and a dogma, but also because of a strong presence of both Islamist and Soviet propaganda that was focused particularly late 60s, 1970s, which is why the young people see Hamas as freedom fighters, and the people who really suffered on October 7th being poor Hamas and the Palestinians, not the Israelis. This is why it has been an inversion of morality. We believe that the Black community has a strong obligation and the ability to voice the truth where that is concerned. So we do this in many, many different ways. And I can go on and on about it, but I would just say there's one, and Rabbi, I don't know if this is being streamed right now. I don't know if it's or just being recorded. You have to let me know.
Oh, it is. It's live, and it'll
Okay.
also be going to be available later.
Okay, yes, sir. So if it's being streamed, which is fine, I'll be more selective about what I'll say, because some of it, let me say this, there are several initiatives that we are already working on now. I can't announce one of them now, but I can tell you that our organization will be working with hundreds of Black American and African pastors in different initiatives that will involve them both going to Israel and going and be attending Africa events as well. There's a strong Africa portion of what we do as the Institute for Black Solidarity of Israel. We are Americans, we're based in America, and proud Americans. We also recognize that as Africans in the diaspora, this issue of Israel, this issue of fighting anti-Semitism, and this issue of the Israel-Africa relationship is very, very important. And I should say it's important for Black voices, Black American voices, to be heard in it. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here now. On tomorrow, I will be part of the Ghana Israel event, being one of the speakers. There's several other African Americans here as well. Headed back home soon. And then we'll resume on what will be a Holy Land tour in November of hundreds of Black Americans. And again, I'll say more about that very soon, a little bit later on, outside of the context of the internet, because it's not an official announcement yet. But we are working on all of those things as part of our education and empowerment arm. And again, we are excited about the prospect. Unfortunately, I use that word because we know that there is a silent majority that we intend to activate in the midst of a rising, unprecedented anti-Semitism in the West. What we see happening in the United States, we recognize as Black Americans that when the saying, as Rabbi Jonathan Sacks says, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews, no one knows that better than Black Americans. This is one of the reasons why we found each other and work together so often, because the people who come for the Jewish people are often the same people who are coming for Black Americans as well. And so we want to make sure that we are building that firewall as it needs to be in place.
Thank you so much. Rabbi Meir Levin, who's actually waiting patiently, he's going to be speaking in the next hour with us today. You and I met together with him as we talked about bringing him on as our director of external relations to have and deepen our connection with other communities, specifically like you were just saying, working with Black pastors, that they should understand, not only that there are Jews who stand with them on so many of these important values issues, but all, and they therefore able to explain in a biblical sense, in biblical context, how important Israel is to the Jewish people and how that all fits together. I wanted you to just speak to our, obviously our audience. We're trying to do this event to bring more support for our organization. People should understand how important we are in the panoply of organizations. There's a real alphabet soup of organizations. Where do you see CJV and its unabashed promotion of traditional biblical values and that classic perspective, along with our outreach, as fitting together with what you're trying to accomplish and how we can work together?
It's extremely important. So one of the things, of the many, many things that has developed over these last 50, 60 years, and I go back to that time of the 60s and the 70s and until now, the reason I give that as a purview is because when it comes to the things that are important to Black American leaders, our homes, our families, economy, those types of things, we recognize, as has been stated by great thinkers like the Ian Rose and the Thomas Sowell and things that there was much more of a cohesiveness in our own families and communities back several decades ago. And there have been a willing away of those very values when it comes to family, when it comes to home, when it comes to entrepreneurialism, all of those things, right? And so our community has been besieged with lots of different things that have come out from outside the community to destroy those values like family and home and those types of things. And so for us, as we are doing this work, it is very, very important for us that, especially again, when we're talking about the Christian aspect of this, right? That Israel is a spiritual, a biblical issue. It's also a geopolitical issue. And we as Black pastors recognize that that holistic approach is very, very important. The Holy Land is the Holy Land because this is how the Bible describes the land itself. And we recognize that there's this thing that we talked about before, Rabbi, as I shared with you before, even back in terms of the earlier days, the Black American presence on the continent, those Negro spirituals were sung, rooted in scripture, go down Moses, Joshua at the Battle of Jericho. Our faith in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is what we know brought us through centuries of slavery, Jim Crow, and all kinds of other things that we were beset with. And it was often the Jewish community that stood with us during those times, which is why I pointed back to Booker T. Washington and Julius Rosenwald. So this for us is a biblical issue. It's a spiritual issue. Again, it's a geopolitical one. But when it comes to the biblical part, we're talking about value. We're talking about biblical values that, again, things like replacement theology or hatred for Israel or demonizing Israel, as the scriptures even warn about. These things are important to us to communicate biblically and spiritually, and then all the other ways as well.
Well, thank you so much for that. I know I really appreciated, our friendship for years. I mean, we go back a long way. I still remember you and your dreads.
That's
back in the day.
Goes.
Yeah, I'm afraid to say we both had a little bit of a limitation on that.
Absolutely.
It's like amazing how that ages out. Remember when Billy Joel had hair?
Yes, sir. It's funny how the young folks don't know that he did, but he really did. Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you so much for being with us. Your internet really did hold up. which
That's
is
good.
it really is amazing how it's bringing the world together. And that's very
Yes,
helpful, obviously, to things like this.
absolutely.
But obviously, we appreciate your voice and your involvement in what we're trying to accomplish here and just helping to enhance our message. And
So,
obviously, the more of these collaborative relationships that we develop, the better off we are all in pushing for the return to America's rock values.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, Rabbi. Thank you. Appreciate your help. So looking forward to working together even more so.
Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much to Dumasani Washington. You know, this is obviously everything that we're doing here in this particular event is, you know, sharing with you what it is that we're accomplishing, that people don't realize there's so much that goes on at Coalition for Jewish Values that doesn't show up in the front page of a news article, that isn't part of some public video, that isn't me getting yelled at by a racist in the basement of the House of Representatives. For those who didn't see that video, yeah, apparently it's become my claim to fame. Even my kids know about that particular one. But we are now. I'm wondering if some Mark, we've not locked up, have we?
no.
No, we've here. Okay. So, Mark, you can go ahead and introduce yourself while we wait for our next guest to be coming in. Mark is our director of special projects, been working for us for several months now to help us bring some of these special projects online and get things moving. So, Mark, I just want to let you say a few words.
Yeah, thank you. We're really trying to expand our network of people, especially having these great speakers and having webinars once a month to talk about different topics. Both our speakers so far have been on a webinar, and I believe everybody's found the talks to be fascinating, interesting, and a great learning experience. And while we're here today, I'd like to say thank some of the people who have donated so far today. I think we've had over 35 donors today. Tell you 1 second, as soon as I could pull that up. David Silver gave $100. Susan Miles gave $108. Charles Garfunkel gave $100. Roberta Goodman gave $360. The list goes on and on. I'm going to mention the other people's names throughout the course of the day. Joel Gorfinkel gave $36. Brian Leib gave $180. Marshall Lerner gave $180. So we're pretty successful, and these donations are all going to be matched, which is pretty incredible. So we're hoping to get a lot more donations over the course of the next 2.5 days. And if anybody has any comments or questions during this afternoon, you can put it in the chat box and we will respond to you.
And appreciate your help. You know, I noticed that our next two guests are now in with us in the chat. So I'm going to ask if I can get Kayla to unmute, because a lot of people don't know exactly how much work we're doing in the space. You know what, Kayla? I've lost your title at FLI. Go ahead and remind me.
Sure, I'm counsel, and I'm also the amicus brief coordinator.
Counsel and amicus brief coordinator for First Liberty Institute. Notice that title, amicus coordinator, is really critical. You're going to get to explain to people what an amicus is, or amicus, or however it's supposed to be pronounced correctly, and what that's all about, because I've had to learn this in the course of the job, but most people are not very familiar with how this process works. And so maybe you can, tell us a little bit about who First Liberty Institute is, the type of work that you're doing, what an amicus is, and when you find yourself reaching out as amicus coordinator, what that means and how often you're reaching out to us.
Sure. Yes. Well, thank you so much, Rabbi Menken, for having me on this call. It's wonderful to be with all of you today. I've learned so much from getting to work with Coalition for Jewish Values, and it's truly a joy. So my role at First Liberty Institute, we are a nonprofit law firm that represents people of all faiths who are facing some type of religious liberty challenge or religious discrimination. So we ourselves are people of faith, and we do the work that we do, much like the work that you do, in order to protect people of faith. But we primarily do it in the legal arena, so the courtroom and the courts of public opinion. So I do get to work on cases representing people of faith all across the country, which is very exciting. But one of my favorite things I get to do is coordinate these things called amicus briefs. Because Latin is a dead language, no one actually knows whether it's pronounced amicus or amicus. I call it amicus, not that it matters. But these are essentially friend of the court briefs. And so the idea is, when you're in court, you've got two parties that are very antagonistic toward each other, and they both have an agenda. Now, we try to make sure that our agenda is a righteous one, in fact. But sometimes there are additional arguments or research that the parties themselves don't really cover. Because they're so focused on, their arguments in order to win their case. And so friend of the court briefs are a really important thing that at any court, but especially courts of appeals and the Supreme Court, it's a way for outside groups to lend their expertise and influence to speak into these very important cases to make sure that the courts don't mess it up. And this is something that I think CJV is very uniquely positioned to do really, really well as a rabbinical organization. So to give you an example, Rabbi Menken and I worked on a case together a couple years ago where a Jewish doctor was sued for malpractice, and the trial was scheduled for Yom Kippur. Now, he asked for a one-day continuance because obviously he would not be able to attend because he was, devout and needing to observe that very important holy day. But the court refused to move his trial. So he appealed, and so we, together with Coalition for Jewish Values, we filed an amicus brief. Now, I don't know very much about Yom Kippur, and so I loved the chance to learn from Rabbi and others who weighed in on this brief to basically explain to the court, what is the religious significance? What does it mean to fast for that length of time? What does it mean, to obey the positive and the negative time-bound commandments on that day? And I think it was very effective because without that brief, the parties made some of those arguments, but to lend the expertise of a rabbinical organization, I think we were very thankful for that because, again, that was expertise that we didn't have, but we could partner together to make sure that the court understood that. So another place where this is really important is at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court actually only takes a handful of cases every year. So there are thousands of petitions that go up to the court, and most of them get rejected. The court takes about 1% to 2% of the cases that come to it. But if you can get 10 or more friend of the court briefs telling the court, you really should take this petition because it matters for everybody, then the court is much more likely to grant your case. So an example, again, where CJV helped us so much was in our Groff case, which was a religious accommodations case. So this was representing a postal worker who worshiped on Sundays. As a Christian, he was a Sabbatarian, and so he couldn't work on Sunday. And that was never a problem until he was told by Amazon that he had to deliver packages on the Sabbath. And so we decided to challenge this very negative precedent that had actually hurt a lot of people of faith, especially of the Jewish faith, because it basically said that if you asked for an accommodation, so for example, if you needed to worship on Saturday and you couldn't work, your employer could deny that if there was any sort of burden on the schedule or essentially if it was too much of a hassle. And so we decided to challenge that in court. Well, we needed some help because we needed Coalition for Jewish Values to explain, why is this bad precedent so harmful, in particular for observant Jews? And then they were also willing to partner with groups from some other faiths to say, and it's also harmful for Muslims who need to pray on Fridays or wear a headscarf, for example. And it's harmful for Hindus who need a religious accommodation from eating certain foods or, meeting a certain schedule. And so it was really powerful because, our client happened to be a Christian, but the precedent that we wanted to challenge was actually harming people of a lot of different faiths. And so to hear directly from them and make sure that they get it right to the court was really helpful. And so those briefs, that support, helped the court choose that petition out of all the others that they were looking at that year. And they did, in fact, fix the precedent. And so now it is much better for people of faith in the workplace who want to request a religious accommodation. So now the employer has a much higher burden. They have to show that there would be a substantial cost from accommodating. And usually, if all you're asking for is not to work on the Sabbath or, to wear religious attire, there's no cost at all. And so the employer has to then accommodate your faith. So, do you have any questions, or are there things you'd like me to expand on, Rabbi Menken?
No, actually, that was fabulous. I was going to ask you, I was planning to ask you, where is the role of CJV in that? What is the special thing that we do? And you answered that, and you answered that brilliantly. I really, appreciate it. I want people to hear and understand what it is that we're bringing to the table that really nobody else is able to do. And to fight for these cases, even when it's very clearly like you gave them that example, it was actually a Christian who was suing for his rights, but he was talking about Sabbath rights. And if it didn't go his way, it was going to definitely come back to bite us 100%. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of internal decision making that has to be made by each organization about what cases they're going to get involved in. But I think you found in us a more outspoken partner than I think in most of the others, and just our willingness to say, we don't care if the person filing the lawsuit is the Latter-day Saints or Hindu for that matter. We care about where that is going to lead us in our rights in the end.
That's right. And I'll say one more word too about just the frequency. You all are, in fact, one of our very best amicus supporters. You almost always say yes. I get a lot of no's. I mean, for a living, I have to ask people to write briefs for free. No one's getting paid for this. And so you are, in fact, one of the most common groups. Probably 4 briefs a year, I would say, is your average, which is incredible. I mean, that's a lot of time. That's a lot of care. And these are cases that span the whole range of religious liberty issues, but it usually takes me about 30 seconds to explain the connection. And, Rabbi, you're in. And that's amazing because that is not true. A lot of other groups will, take a ton of time internally to deliberate, and then they sort of miss the deadline, or they don't want, they view us as sort of like a competitor. And so they don't want to support. So, but I've never had any of those issues. I mean, you all are always so willing to jump in. And like I said, to lend that expertise that the lawyers aren't going to get right. We need the rabbis to help us. And the court, in fact, needs, that guidance to make sure that, especially on these issues that go to the core of who we are, that go to the core of religious beliefs, it's so important to get it right. And so we're super thankful for the work that you all do with us in that space. It's really a joy.
Well, thank you. And in fact, the frequency got to a level where we said we have to have an actual director of legal affairs, who is Bella Brannon, who unfortunately. Oh, wait, you are unmuted. Hi.
Hi, my camera is not working, but I'm here. I'm really
I
excited
just
to
wanted you to
be.
be able to say hello to Kayla and say hello to the crowd and introduce yourself and how and
Hi,
where,
Kayla.
where are you in your career and how wonderful it is to work for us.
Hi, I'm very sorry. Thank you all for supporting CJV. I've learned so much from the organization, and I think that we do really important work. I apologize in advance that there's something wrong with my camera. So even though my video is on, it's not rolling, but I'm a first-year student, rising second year at Antonin Scalia School of Law. I've been working with CJV for coming on 2 years now, and I'll be interning with the Beckett Fund this summer. CJV does really important work promoting constitutional rights, First Amendment rights, and family values. So it's been wonderful to work with people like Kayla in advancing these through briefs.
And we literally had to hand Bella this job based on demand. Somebody had to be keeping track of all of the amici is the plural, however that's pronounced. We're going to go right back there with that again, and figuring out how much that which ones we are going to join. Because First Liberty is not the only organization knocking on our door asking us to join amici. A lot of the organizations have a very different. Advancing American Freedom, for example, that many people know. Advancing American Freedom suddenly became famous because it was Mike Pence's post-administration organization. It really, like somebody, sarcastically called it, the Mike Pence retirement home. And then when this whole brouhaha happened with Heritage Foundation standing with Tucker Carlson rather than standing with the Jewish community, a whole series of researchers traded in window offices at Heritage Foundation to share a conference table at Advancing American Freedom to literally be, and it's cramped in that same. Well, they cover a lot of issues. They cover a whole broad base of issues that are really, frankly, not our lane. And we therefore have to discern, hey, this one is for us, this one is not for us. And, I honestly, Kayla, you guys are providing us some of the easiest work because whenever you say it, it's like the yes is kind of obvious. It's almost like, it's almost a no-brainer every time. Whereas with an organization that's doing things about, oh, I don't know, land usage having nothing to do with religion or taxation issues or what have you, obviously we have to say, oh, no, we're not doing that one. We are doing this one. We will consider doing that one. And Isabella has been guiding that project, and we really appreciate it. So thank you so much, Kayla, for joining us and for explaining what the connection is and what we do. And we look forward to working with FLI for many years to come.
Oh, that sounds wonderful to me. Well, thank you all for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Well, thank you. And you know what? We're going to move right on because our next guest has been waiting patiently. Adi, we there?
Yes, I'm here. How are you doing?
Very good. Okay, Adi Carney. It's title in the Army because I don't somehow that's not right in front of me, and I apologize.
I'm a first sergeant in the IDF.
First sergeant, IDF, did service in Gaza, has really been fighting the good fight, and then quite recently, quite local to me, by the way, Towson University. Okay, this is the strange connection here is that my daughter just got engaged to the son of the guy who does outreach to Jewish students and help reclaim their Jewish identity for Jewish students at Towson University. So that's kind of the backdrop to this of how much it impacted me personally to hear your story. What happened in that encounter. And also just your general, promoting the truth about Israel and all your efforts in that space, speaking to audiences across the country here in the United States. So I wanted to give you the floor for 5 minutes just to tell people, what you do, what the event was like, what that whole disturbance was like, what that means, and where you see that and you see our supportive role.
So basically, like you said, I just finished my IDF service around 1 year ago. I'm 23 and I've been part of the war in Gaza from October 7th. I entered Lebanon afterwards. And recently, I just went into the US campuses quite often. I set the table, big sign, I'm an IDF soldier, and let's talk about it. If you're pretty sure that right now there is a genocide, there is a starvation in Gaza, let's talk about the things. Let's see how much knowledge you have over there. So a lot of times it's not simple. I'm getting a lot of curses over my head, a lot even of spitting on me, and they have no clue what's really going on inside of Israel. And from someone who just been inside of Gaza, who's telling them, listen, I saw in my own eyes what's going on. And right now in Israel, we all living together. It's not in apartheid states. And I'm telling them the truth from my point of view. And the important thing is that filming everything. Because for me, when I'm talking for someone and it's just one-on-one, one-on-two, something like this, but when I'm posting that, my recent video in Towson University went to 4 million views. So it's very important for me also for the rest of the world to see how ignorant these students are. And right now in America, they're raising up the anti-Semitism again. And we need to say, no, we're not in the 40s anymore. We need to stand up for the truth, for the Jewish people, and for the state of Israel. Because when I'm entering Gaza, I'm not just fighting only for the state of Israel. I'm fighting for the Jews over the world. And that's what I'm doing also when I'm going and fighting other fight, I would say, by advocating for Israel. And I think your organization does so much also for Israel. And that's incredible.
Sorry, I had to reach to unmute myself, but yeah, thank you for that. I mean, obviously, I had my own video experience where I got several million views because someone yelled "Free Palestine" at me from the from Code Pink, which is the anti-Israel organization. And I said, because it's Code Pink, I have to point this out, turned around and gave it to her. I said, you found a new pretense to hate Jews. I mean, honestly, the difference between pro-Palestinian and anti-Semitic is spelling. They're both euphemisms that work in their time to mask a much older and darker form of hate. And this is exactly what we're seeing. Obviously, the only folks that actually care about the rights of Arabs living in Gaza are people like you. Hamas is busy killing them if they don't toe the Hamas line. Israel is the one place where an Arab has civil rights. In fact, what these idiots of the left would like to call apartheid, they call it apartheid when Jews and Arabs have civil rights in the Middle East. Because every other country in the Middle East, you don't find that even for Arabs, much less for Jews. Obviously, that's the point. We have to speak this truth clearly, because we've been facing anti-Semitism for 3,300 years. It's not changing. But I'm sure that you can talk about, the individual efforts that you guys were making in Gaza to protect the lives of the same civilians that Hamas was knowingly putting in danger.
Yeah, every time that I went inside of Gaza, we literally call in each one of the civilians and tell them that they need to escape to a safe zone, because right now we're going to operate just to break the regime of Hamas over there. And every time that I went inside, of course I saw civilians, because Hamas just putting them as human shields. But we're not like them. The IDF is the most unity military in the world, and we're there just to break Hamas, and we're risking our lives over that, just to go over the civilians and fight the terrorists themselves. So when I'm just speaking to all the people here in the Zoom, and I'm saying that I have a back. I have a back, and people supports my mission in the IDF and supports my mission to spread the light. And by the way, these people just came to you and yell free Palestine. Ask them, where is Palestine? What river? What sea? Free from what? Free from Hamas, I would say. Because right now, we're trying to break all the regimes over there. And may one day, I really hope that the education over there will change, because that's horrible. Like you said, it's just different pronouns for Jewish hate, and we need to break it down while it starts rising up.
Thank you so much for that. I mean, absolutely true. It's so important that we're working with people, all across the spectrum in so many different situations, all trying to aim for, like our lane involves working with many different people in many different ways to bring us that common goal. So we certainly appreciate being able to work with people like you who have, you've done your service on behalf of the Jewish people, and you deserve to get credit for it. You deserve to know that there's people standing behind you. And you should understand, I'm sure you know this, but with the exceptions of 20 crazies who call themselves Neturei Karta, the Jewish community, the Torah Jewish community, is totally standing with you and totally understands where the truth lies.
Thank you so much. And I'm Israel Chai always.
I'm Israel Chai. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And now I want to go ahead and take some questions from the floor. You know what? It was supposed to be on the agenda that I was supposed to invite people to put questions in the chat. I am therefore very happy that some people have. But if you have a question that you'd like to put out there for us to deal with, like what are we doing as an organization, please go ahead and do that. I want to take Al's Franzman's question on the Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel. And how is that different than the effort that the Jewish people did supporting NAACP, only for NAACP to turn woke? Well, NAACP has a particular agenda, and it was taken over by particular people who took that agenda in very dark ways. Pastor Washington, on the other hand, Institute for Black Solidarity with Israel exists for one reason only: to deepen the relationship between the Black community and the Jewish community, between the Black community and supporting Israel. So that's what it means. And obviously, we're not here supporting his particular organization over First Liberty Institute versus Congressman McCormick and his next run for office. Obviously our goal is support for Coalition for Jewish Values. But what we're doing here, what we're trying to accomplish, is having dialogues with people like Pastor Washington, who are all about deepening the U.S.-Israel relationship and deepening the connection between the Jewish community and the Black community in a positive way. In fact, there are very few people who are more emphatic about having noticed and sounding the alarm over the Black Lives Matter movement than Pastor Washington. Pastor Washington was telling people, warning people, Black Lives Matter is a dangerous anti-Israel, anti-Semitic hate group that is masquerading as a civil rights cause, that has done tremendous damage even within the Black community, just on the issue itself. I mean, I'm from Baltimore. In the Freddie Gray, let's just talk about, Black Lives Matter for a minute, because this was even before it was a movement. In Baltimore, you had a Black mayor and a Black police chief, and half the police force was Black and half the arresting officers were Black. And we were being told that Freddie Gray was arrested. It was a racist problem. And he was killed by police. None of this was true. The result was police were being forced to back off, and hundreds upon hundreds of young Black men lost their lives here in Baltimore because of this proto Black Lives Matter version of BLM. In other words, even the Black community is tremendously harmed by this, much less the Jewish community. And Dumasani Washington was one of the people sounding that alarm, telling people. So do we want solidarity with Blacks who support us and support traditional values? Absolutely, because that is exactly what we do want to see. And frankly, we want to see that solidarity with Muslims who support us also. You look and you say, well, how can you support this Muslim cause or this Pakistan? Well, guess what? Because they're tremendously supportive of classical biblical values and the Jews for promoting them and for civil rights for all and supporting Israel. So, and all of those things run together in actually a fabulous way, which is almost a segue. We didn't get to announce this, but I have a special video greeting to share with everybody from Senator James Lankford. Senator James Lankford is the senior senator from the state of Oklahoma, where now this is a classic. He is a pro-values Christian, and you'll see he's going to talk about people of faith and his outreach to leaders of faith, because this was actually shared with us for the sake of our rabbis, to understand that there are real allies in Congress who understand that what we're promoting in both houses are the same classical values that they want to see shared. So now I'm going to go ahead and do a screen share. Make sure I share sound and share pastor. Sorry. I believe actually he is a pastor, but Senator Lankford, who had a greeting to share with all of us today. Just give me a minute here to move that, and here we go.
I'm United States Senator James Lankford from the great state of Oklahoma, and I'm honored to speak to so many leaders of faith today. Thank you for what you do to be able to study and to be able to lead and to be able to encourage our nation. I'm proud to be able to stand with you shoulder to shoulder to be able to protect religious liberty in our great country, and to be able to make sure that we continue to protect the rights of all individuals to be able to have a faith and to be able to live that faith as they choose. I serve as the chairman of the Values Action Team, which is a group of faith-based and non-faith-based conservative policy folks that we gather to be able to talk about areas where we can work together to be able to promote good family policy, good conservative policy, but also areas of religious liberty to be able to guard this for all faiths. I also serve as the co-chair of the Anti-Semitism Caucus here in the United States Senate. I serve alongside Jackie Rosen of Nevada, where she's my Democratic colleague, and we work together to be able to find ways to be able to push back aggressively against anti-Semitism in our nation and, quite frankly, around the world. We call it out, we identify it, we push where we can, and we try to be able to make sure no one just looks away where there's acts of anti-Semitism. One of the areas we're working on together right now is the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act. This works with the Department of Education to be able to make sure that every single student and every family is free to be able to live out their faith without fear of oppression, and to be able to make sure that every single Jewish student knows that they're welcome in all areas of both of our economy and of education in every location across the nation. No one should be afraid to be able to go to school anywhere in America because of their faith, because of their background or heritage. That should never be. We're working to make sure that we get that done. One of the ways is implementing in the Department of Education a basic standard of the IHRA definition, the International Holocaust Alliance definition, that gives clarity to every single administrator. This is what anti-Semitism looks like and sounds like, and you need to be able to call it out because we made it very, very clear. Thank you again for your leadership and for the ways that you actually work to be able to make this such a great nation. Bless you as you continue the work together.
Well, there you have it. You should know that Senator Lankford and I, he's become personally a friend. It's the working together. In fact, we do more work together with the Values Action Team than we do with the Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism. The Task Force on Combating Anti-Semitism was just, fabulous work. They just put bills forward that support the Jewish community and the fight against anti-Semitism, and they do great work. The Values Action Team, on the other hand, convenes monthly meetings with leaders of many other groups. And honestly, I mean, this is again about the difference between there's other traditional Jewish organizations in the room, but they're about they are focused on the needs of our community, which is it's fabulous. It's very important work that they do, and it involves threading a very tricky diplomatic needle, because it's obviously, the support for Israel that you get from somebody like Senator Fetterman or Congressman Richie Torres are, unmatched and unparalleled. And meanwhile, if you talk about the values issues, you're totally on the wrong side with those folks on those issues. So, like I said, the ones who want to promote the needs of our community, they need to be careful about what fights and what battles they get into. As a result, and this is something that another Values Action Team member, Concerned Women for America, told a swimmer who was forced to compete against a man who believed himself a woman, said, this is the only national Jewish organization fighting to keep men out of women's sports. So for all the women here, I would quip that makes the organization purportedly representing the patriarchal rabbis more pro-women than all the national Jewish women's organizations, because we're the ones who say, you know what? Men don't belong competing against women, and certainly don't belong in women's private spaces. That's what we're all about. And obviously that puts us on the same page with the folks on an organization within a group like the Values Action Team that Senator Lankford represents. And, as a result, we have a uniquely powerful voice. Again, it's the fact that, the things are, where we are in America is such that there are people who will tell you that if you have a position that a fetal life has to be protected, that's a Christian position. That only Christians believe that. That is a classic biblical value. Jews absolutely support that. The idea that abortion on demand should be regarded as a last-ditch version, method of birth control, is anathema to our way of thinking. And yet, that's the way people were speaking. Why? Because there was nobody to stand up from outside the Christian community and say, hey, guess what? We're against abortion too. Today, there's an organization, a Jewish pro-life organization, but that's its only issue. All it does is pro-life. We support biblical values across the board that gives us that unique power, that unique voice. People recognize that everything we talk about is coming from that same place of authenticity. I like to say, I'm not the determinant of Jewish values. I don't get to say my own opinion. If CJV issues a press release and a rabbi, an authentic Orthodox rabbi anywhere in the country, certainly if a half dozen of them are finding fault with something we said, something's wrong. It's not who we are. Our job is to be the mouthpiece, to articulate on behalf of the rabbis of America, because the overwhelming majority of rabbis in America are traditional and therefore classified as right wing. Somebody has to speak up for them and articulate their opinion and their voice. And that this is why we do what we do. And actually, there was a great letter earlier today from a profoundly secular Jewish woman who said, but, you know, I may be profoundly secular, but I'm not an indoctrinated leftist. And these guys represent me. It's a Coalition for Jewish Values. Never mind that they're Orthodox rabbis and I am as secular as it get. These guys represent our opinion. And of course, because the definition and the mission of our organization is the promotion of traditional values, we have an inoculation against going woke, like so many organizations. What Ali was talking, I'm sorry, Mr. Franzman, I don't know if it's Al or Ali or etc. But, you know, when you were talking about the black community, I mean, sadly, you can look at how many of the Jewish organizations have gone off the rails to the left in recent years. And that's something that we have built in, that should not happen to us, precisely because we recognize that danger. And so it's, you know, it's so important for us to be doing what we do. And that gave us such unique clout within the Values Action Team, way beyond our weight class. You know, I like to say that we are projecting as if we're a million or multi-million-dollar cause, because we keep getting invited to meetings where everybody else is. And that's true of the Values Action Team. These are major Christian organizations with budgets in the millions, if not tens of millions. And they're sitting alongside us because they need that Jewish voice. And that's what we're doing. You know, it's so important to have the support, obviously, from everybody, from people like you, to make it happen. And I just want to, you know, give a major shout out. We got a significant donation from Steve Rosedale just within the last several minutes, where he has put $5,000, which has been matched, into the cause, driving up. I believe we are now more than a quarter of the way to reaching our goal, and we've only been live for 6 hours. So that's really fabulous. We're about to hit $20,000 in donations. Please reach out to your friends. Please get them on board. Show them how important this organization is and all that we're doing. Now, to continue down the agenda, I'm going to see if I can unmute. Yes, I can. Rabbi Meir Levin, who's actually in his private work a lawyer, but he will go through his work as you know what, Mayor, I asked you to unmute. You should be able to now. There we go. Can you be heard? We can't hear you yet.
I haven't started to speak.
There we are.
There
Okay,
you go.
people already hear a South African accent, which is actually not South African. It's Rhodesian.
That's correct.
But you can lead everybody through just a little bit of your background, how that leads you to want to work together with Black pastors and other Christian pastors, and how that leads to being Director of External Relations for the CJV. Thank you so much. Floor is yours.
Well, firstly, I wanted to thank you, Rabbi. I wanted to thank Rabbi Menken for the wonderful work that he does and for this opportunity to speak with you. Chodesh Tov to everybody. We are almost there, Shavuos, after all these days of counting. But I just wanted to introduce myself and give you a little bit about my background and what drives me, why I'm so excited about the possibility of actually being associated with this remarkable organization. I was raised in what was called Rhodesia. Rhodesia today is known as Zimbabwe. And I grew up in a home where Torah was not merely observed, it was lived with dignity, with humility, and profound conviction. My father, Alav Shalom, was born in Vilna, and he was a Small man, very short, diminutive man in physical stature. But in terms of spiritual strength and menschlichkeit, in my opinion, he was a gadol. He was a great, great man. And he spoke a broken English because his mother, Noshan, his mother tongue, was Yiddish. And yet somehow, despite cultural and linguistic barriers, he forged this extraordinary relationship with clergy throughout the country, and particularly with Black clergy. So he didn't accomplish what he did through politics or through sophisticated public relations. He did it through sincerity, through faith, through kindness, and a deep love for the Ribono Shel Olam, for God and his Torah. And how did he do this? So my parents owned a furniture factory, and they manufactured dining room suites and bedroom suites. And my parents wanted to help religious people. They were religious, and they wanted to help religious people. So what did they do? They began to manufacture church pews. So clergy would regularly come to the factory, and that's where my father's interactions began. And he really wanted to forge relationships with these people. So my father, Shalom, would invite them into our home. And my mom, it was wonderful. My mom was this exceptional cook and this wonderful baker. And she would prepare these sumptuous meals, kugel and kishka and tzimmus and borscht, javeh borscht. And we would have these wonderful meals around the family table. And something beautiful happened. The clergy saw firsthand what authentic Jewish faith represented and what it could create. And there was no division. There was just a certain sense of warmth, of Torah values. And around our table, I watched people from very different backgrounds discover something that they had in common: faith, morality, family, dignity, gratitude to the Ribono Shel Olam, and this profound reverence for scriptures, for Tanakh. And as a child, these experiences shaped me profoundly. I learned that when people encounter Torah Judaism authentically and sincerely, barriers can fall away, respect can grow, and friendship can flourish. And that's part of the reason why I want to be associated with the Coalition of Jewish Values, because they built this remarkable relationship with clergy and faith leaders throughout the United States. And at this time, I think Rabbi Menken can correct me, but Orthodox rabbis, I think you probably represent 2,500 Orthodox rabbis. Rabbis who are deeply grounded in Torah, in values, in scholarship, in community leadership and moral clarity. And my hope and prayer is to build upon this foundation. So something I would love to do is introduce a pilot program that will thoughtfully pair receptive clergy with some of our rabbinic members for ongoing relationship building and education. And this effort will always proceed with scrupulous adherence to Torah, to halacha, and obviously under the guidance of our very capable rabbinic leadership. So my goal, together with Rabbi Menken, and he's going to be my mentor, my goal is to foster authentic understanding and meaningful relationships rooted in shared moral and biblical values and Torah values. And I really believe that many clergy sincerely love the Bible, they love the Torah, and respect the Jewish people. But I don't think that they fully understand and appreciate the centrality of Eretz Israel to Jewish faith and identity. And I don't think that they fully understand that the land of Israel is not merely political or historical to us. It's covenantal, it's spiritual, and it's woven into every single aspect of Torah and Jewish life. And hopefully when these conversations occur, we're going to have hopefully many of them, We are going to ensure that they understand the Jewish connection to our beloved Eretz Yisrael, and that it's not a modern invention. It's an eternal part of our Masorah, of our tradition. And I think that it's so important that relationships go way beyond conversations alone. So if we truly want these connections to deepen, we're going to have to find meaningful and tangible ways for people to experience what these values look like in practice. So hopefully we're going to encourage visits by these clergy to Jewish communities, opportunities to witness chesed organizations. Hopefully they will see firsthand, they will encounter not only Torah learning, and we're going to do this again within strict parameters of what halacha allows us to do, but hopefully these experiences will connect them to the land of Israel itself, to our beloved Eretz Yisrael. Because ultimately, people are transformed not only by discussions, we know this, but by relationships, by experiences, and by seeing holiness lived authentically. So in many ways, I feel that this work that hopefully I will do with this wonderful organization, I hope and pray that it will be a continuation of what I witnessed in my parents' home. A small Jewish home, a family filled with warmth, with love, people of faith sitting together, mutual respect, shared values, and a recognition that the belief in God and the Eibishter should elevate humanity and bring dignity to the world. And I hope and pray that this organization is positioned to help foster the kind of principled relationships that are so necessary. And I'm deeply grateful, Rabbi Menken. I really am. I'm deeply grateful for the opportunity to in some way contribute to what I think is a holy mission. I really do. And I thank everybody who's here today for the support that they're going to give and they're going to continue to give to the Coalition for Jewish Values, for their commitment to Torah values, and for helping make this work so possible. And my bracha, my blessing to all of us is that Hashem should grant us the wisdom and the strength to continue to sanctify his name, because this is a Kiddush Hashem, so that we can build relationships that bring honor to our Torah, to the Jewish people, and to the values that we all cherish so dearly. And I thank you again, Rabbi Menken, and to everybody that's here today. Chodesh Tov.
Well, thank you so much for that. And just absolutely, we're really looking forward to working with you for years. I want to quickly acknowledge our matchers again, the generous matchers who made it possible for us to be giving a one-to-one match. Every time somebody who donates $1, there's somebody else out there who is matching it. Hal Berenson, Gary and Vicky Earlbaum, Michael and Andrea Levin, and more than one anonymous supporters who are all helping us achieve our goals in this particular campaign. Part of which let's just lay the cards on the table is to bring Rabbi Levin on board as our director of external engagement to make this possible. And you're already hearing from Rabbi Levin, this is a labor of love. This is not, it's like a stipend to get paid to do what you love to do already. It's fabulous. And we were able, you should understand, people should know, that Rabbi Levin, as described, as you were speaking about Rabbi Levin, that it came with a particular affinity for working with Black pastors and the so traditional nature of their, honestly, the pro-values that they have, which is so discordant with their voting patterns, and just working to inculcate that. And I said, that's fabulous, but we're not a large enough organization to only focus on Black pastors. We'd be focusing on everybody outside. That position meets exactly where we are, especially because it jibes so spectacularly with our effort to develop the Rabbi Dov Fisher Memorial Archive. Because what is the Rabbi Dov Fisher Memorial Archive? It's an archive of papers, not to tell Jews what we think. The rabbis don't need to know what we think. We know what we think already. It's that everybody else should have easy, at-hand, immediate access to a brief white paper that puts out there what our position is, what we support, and why we're supporting it. While we're doing that, I want to answer Alec Franzman, again, I apologize. I don't know you. I don't know if you're a man or a woman yet. I'm reading Al Franzman, right? Anybody else correct me on that? But yeah, I want you to know that we, in fact, have spoken out against the left's distortion of our beliefs on abortion and on transgender. There are articles of mine on in Newsweek going back 5 years due to my work with this organization, setting the record straight on those matters. What we're now going to do, we already do have a white paper on abortion, but a brief little thing about how what our stance is, but it doesn't necessarily particularly call them out or respond to them. And with Rabbi Levin's help, we're now going to be able to go back, revisit that, talk about how much do we want to specify that we are contradicting these false opinions. Especially, you look at the whole transgender thing, the claim that the Talmud supports 6 genders, absolute unmitigated nonsense. There's nobody who is, either you have to be ignorant or fundamentally dishonest to promote such an idea. But here we are. That's where sadly the Jewish community is. And it's so important, therefore, that we have this voice to speak out against it and to push back. Now, Ali, I know that we are waiting at this juncture for today's keynote speaker, but I have not seen him. Wait a minute, I do. Ladies and gentlemen, from the fine state of Florida, I get to introduce Randy Fine. Congressman Fine, could you just say hello so that we know that your audio is working before I introduce you?
Hello from Florida. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Fabulous. Congressman Fine and we also go back to practically the beginning. In fact, I'm sorry, we were connected when you were running for state senate. Am I not? You were already a state assemblyman. Then you became a state senator. Then you can talk about that for a little bit. But we were already connected, already friends, came to Congress, called the Hebrew Hammer for a reason, because he keeps saying it like it is, calling out the bigots for their bigotry. Sadly, look, that has brought forward some really pivotal moments where, thanks to what Congressman Fine has said and his outspokenness, where we've gotten to hear that the head of the Democratic Party in Congress, Minority Leader Hussein, is willing, Hussein Jeffries is willing to side with Ilhan Omar versus Congressman Randy Fine. And it was very clear where moral values put us on a very different side of the issue. So I want to turn the floor over to Congressman Fine, talk a little bit about the meteoric rise, what you're trying to accomplish in Congress, and then we'll talk a little bit about the special relationship that we have merited to have together with you.
Well, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be there. Some of those comments were very, very flattering. For those of you who don't know me, I have a few things you should know. I'm the first Jewish Republican ever elected to Congress from Florida. I'm the first member of Congress in American history to wear a kippah. And I was the first person, you talked about the meteoric rise. I don't know if that's true, but I was the first person to serve in the Florida House, the Florida Senate, and Congress in the same 6-month period. And my story is a simple one. I got elected to the Florida House in 2016. Was not running as a Jewish person, just running as a Republican in a Republican primary. After I got elected, though, Jewish groups approached me to ask me to do things to protect Jews in the state of Florida. And I asked them why. I couldn't figure it out. Where I live, I don't represent a lot of Jews. And I said, why me? And they said, because you're the only one who can. You're the only member of the majority party who is Jewish. And you look like someone who's willing to fight. So under my leadership over 8 years in the Florida House, Florida was the first state to adopt the IHRA definition. We were the first state to create dedicated security funding for Jewish day schools. We were the first state to have a zero tolerance policy for BDS. We were the first state to require every school in the state to provide us details about how they do Holocaust education. We were the first state to say that if you block the roads because you want to march for Palestine, you can get run over. And that's one of my proudest bills. We called it the Thump Thump Act. We were the first state to ban the mutilation of children in the name of fake transgender science. So I did that for 8 years. And so many Jews have moved to Florida as a result, because we made it the safest place in America to be Jewish. We're like the anti-New York these days. We call it making a little aliyah when you move to Florida. And so after 8 years in the Florida House, I went to the Florida Senate. And 2 weeks after I got elected to the Florida Senate, before I even had a chance to be sworn in, President Trump called and asked for me to run for Congress because he wanted another Jewish warrior up there to help him advance his agenda. I told him I would think about it, and then he tweeted out that I was running. So that was my level of consideration. So I got elected to Congress a year ago. Rabbi Menken is correct. I'm known for being incredibly forceful. I believe that we need to live in a world where we fight evil as aggressively as evil fights us. And one of my great frustrations, frankly, with the broader Jewish community is they believe that we should take the higher road, that we should speak in platitudes, that we should be polite about it. And I believe that when someone comes at you with a knife, you go back at them with a gun. So, that's my perspective. And I've been very aggressive. And frankly, to the great dismay of many of the more liberal Jews that exist, and certainly to so-called Hakeem Jeffries, who is the leader of the Democratic Party. But we live in a world that is very scary. I tell people we live in 1932 Germany. My 14-year-old told me that when I took him I tell people to go to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, but you don't actually have to go to the part about the Holocaust. That's not the most important part of the museum. The most important part of the museum are the first few galleries that talk about what led to the Holocaust. And my 14-year-old, when we visited a few months ago, said, "Dad, if these pictures were in color and these signs were translated from German to English, it could be an average Thursday in New York City." And that's where we are today. But what I think is, as I study the rise of the Holocaust, the Jews of the 1930s chose one of two paths. They either chose to leave, or unfortunately, they didn't choose it, but it ended up happening to them. They died. They left or they died. What we didn't have is a group of people who are willing to lean in to the fight. And I think that's what we have today. And I'm incredibly grateful to Rabbi Menken and your organization for when they've come after me, you all have had my back. And as we fight this fight in a very, very scary time, not only to be Jewish, but frankly, to be American. And I appreciate it very, very much. So happy to answer questions or talk about whatever you'd like.
What does it mean to have your back in something like that?
Well, I'm in a very lonely place. So there are some number of, I don't even know the number of Jewish Democrats in Congress. There's actually a congressional Jewish caucus. Republican Jews are not allowed to join. So just sort of think about that. The only reason I found out there was a congressional Jewish caucus was when they all condemned me for saying that Americans shouldn't have to give up their dogs in order to make Muslim immigrants comfortable living in America. I was like, wait, what? There's a congressional Jewish caucus? I didn't even know. I asked the other 3 Jewish Republicans and they said, oh yeah, we're not allowed to join. By the way, that's not a Jewish thing. There's a congressional black caucus as well. And the 4 black Republican members are not able to join that. I don't know how you can have a Jewish caucus or a black caucus and not let members of that community in. They should at least have to call it the Congressional Democratic Jewish Caucus or something like that. But when these folks have come after me and tried to categorize me or miscategorize me, you've been willing to publicly have my back in a time where other so-called Jewish groups, the AJC, the ADL, were willing to take the easier path. I'll give you a great example of this that happened recently. You know, I've been very frustrated with many Democrats basically taking the side of the Gaza Arabs in certain things. And, and I said to them, I publicly said, look, they may load you into the cattle car last, but they're going to load you in all the same. And again, the ADL criticized me for saying this. But we see this. We see vicious self-hating Jews like Dave Smith who attack Israel But then the minute the Jew haters can, they turn on him because he is still Jewish. These people don't understand that you'll just be the last one they go after, not the first. And you all have been willing again to have my back as I say the things that need to be said, and frankly, try to move the Overton window in terms of what is acceptable for us to talk about. Many of these things out there are intended to silence us. The entire term Islamophobia is a term invented not to protect Muslims from discrimination, which, by the way, is a noble goal. People shouldn't be discriminated against, but is a term that was used to conflate discrimination with public discussion and is used to silence criticism or dissent. I've taken a hard line in saying that I'm not going to accept that. And this makes me a unique situation. I'm not the only Jewish Republican, but I sometimes feel like one, and particularly because I've chosen to be so public, because I've chosen to wear a kippah, and I'm happy to tell that story about why, if people want to know. That really makes me a target. Because I'm not willing to just be that quiet Jew who gets along. Even true Orthodox Jews like Joe Lieberman never wore a yarmulke because he said he didn't want to not fit in. And I'm not afraid to stand out.
Actually, can you tell your story of the yarmulke?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
you started wearing a yarmulke? What happened afterwards?
So
Yeah.
I'm not Orthodox, although I've certainly seemed to be moving in that direction over time. But when I got elected to Congress, they put me on the Education Committee, and on May the 6th, about a month after I got elected, we had our first hearing on anti-Semitism in universities. And that morning, my son said to me, "Dad, I think you should wear a kippah today." I said, "Why?" I said, "We don't wear a kippah except when we go to shul for services." And he said, "Well, I have friends who are in college right now who want to wear a yarmulke and don't feel safe wearing theirs. So you have this nickname, the Hebrew Hammer. You should put on a yarmulke, and you should go make these university presidents understand why." And I did. And those videos went viral. One of the university presidents that I went after got fired as a result of my questioning of her. And at the end of the day, the feedback was so great. My son said, "Dad, you should continue to wear it until every Jew feels safe, no matter where they are, not just at college, but walking down the street, which in New York City may not be such an easy thing to say anymore." So I continue to do that. Now, we struggled with the decision. My wife was not super happy about it. She said, "Randy, you're literally wearing a target on your head." But 3 days after I started wearing it, when I'm still debating, is this something I really want to be doing all the time? I got to be the Speaker Pro Tem of the U.S. House of Representatives. It's the person who the Speaker asks to run the floor. And I'm up there, and I'm being the Speaker Pro Tem, and an Orthodox family comes into the gallery. And I could tell, based on how they were dressed and the fact that they had 17 children, I could tell that it was an Orthodox family. And the kids, the 9, 10, 11-year-olds, start pointing at me very aggressively, pointing from the gallery. And they even got yelled at by the Capitol Police. And I for a minute, I couldn't figure out, why are they pointing at me? And then I realized they were pointing at me because I was wearing a kippah. So I turned to the staff and I said, "Hey, has anyone ever worn a kippah up here before?" Now, these people are, nerds of Congress. They know everything. And I turned them, "Has anybody ever worn one of these up here before?" And they said, "We've been waiting for 3 days for you to ask us this question." They said, "Sir, in the 249-year history of the United States, not only has no member of Congress ever worn a kippah to be the Speaker Pro Tem, no member of Congress has ever worn a kippah at all. You're the first." And I sort of stepped back from it and I was like, wow, I guess that's one of the things that I must be here to do. Now, it does come with some negatives. I also didn't keep kosher. And that night, I'm feeling really good about my Jewishness. I'm going to wear a kippah. I'm going to stand up for our people. And I go to a cocktail party that night. And I don't remember what I was reaching for at the cocktail party. It might have been a crab cake or a bacon wrapped shrimp or a cheeseburger slider. I don't actually remember what it was. And then all of a sudden, everyone's looking at me again. And I thought to myself, "Oh, you have got to be kidding me." So now I keep kosher too, because I figure you can't do one without the other. And then my wife decided to go for the full hat trick in December. She said, "Randy, I think you should start growing a beard." So, most members of Congress, I think, get elected and they give up all their morals. Once they get elected, I think by the time I'm done, I'll probably be a rabbi. So that is the story of how I came to wear the kippah every day.
I know a bunch of Rabbi Fines. Thank you so much for that presentation. It's absolutely true. And by the way, I know that you were the first congressman to wear a yarmulke. And I'll tell you why. When we really do approach moral values from a certain position, it doesn't matter who the person is. It matters what the value is and where that lies. The very first thing we had to say about Ilhan Omar when she got into Congress was to back her. Now, you say, what on earth are you backing about Ilhan Omar? The answer is the first thing she did was request that the rule be changed prohibiting head coverings in the House of Representatives. That she is the one who got that done. They had to change the rule to allow her to wear her hijab. So that's the reason, and we supported it, knowing, hey, that supports Jewish values too. That supports the direction we're going. We obviously could not have predicted that at some point down the road, you were going to come to Congress, decide to wear a yarmulke, and you were able to put on a yarmulke because we decided to back Ilhan Omar and say, yeah, doesn't matter what party you are, you ought to decide this is a good thing to do.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that. I would note two things, though. Number one, a Jew could have come along before 2018 and said, change it for me, and none did. And number two, knowing me, I don't really care what the rules were. If I was going to wear one, I would have worn one and I would have dared them to do something about it. So, but it is true that the rules were changed, I think, in 2018 when she unfortunately was elected to Congress and to make that sort of head covering allowable.
2019, because she was elected in 2018.
She won in 2018. I think she got sworn in 2019.
Yeah, that we didn't know that anti-Semitism was going to be.
A Jew could have asked to change the rules.
Absolutely, we didn't know anti-Semitism would be our big issue. The Squad got elected in 2018. We're very familiar with when that happened.
Oh yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, there you go. So keep doing what you're doing. Thank you so much for and just to articulate to our people how important that partnership is, how important our role is.
I need allies, and you have there's no organization that has been a better ally to me as I have tried to fight for the Jewish people in Congress. So
I you know what? I want to get that again because I want to get that on film.
Well,
there has been no better ally in the fight in Coalition for Jewish Values.
Need allies.
Go ahead, say it.
I need allies, and there's been no better ally in the work that I've done to fight for the Jewish people than the CJV.
Wow, that's absolutely fabulous. And yeah, we're going to clip that, and we're going to keep that.
You're welcome to do it. And I would say it to anybody. It's true. I mean, it's true. The times when I've been attacked the most for doing what is right, you all have been there. A lot of, there are still plenty of weak-kneed Jews in the world.
I forget what it was where Ilhan Omar said something racist and stupid. You blasted her, and in a way that was demeaning towards her, obviously, because she really is a supporter of Islamic terrorism.
Yes.
And Hakeem Jeffries came after you. I forget what it was, but that was the moment where we just said it, clearly stood up to say, wait a minute, he's right, she's wrong, get it straight.
Yep. So-called Hakeem Jeffries is no friend to the Jewish people. That much is clear.
It's amazing because he's had a very good relationship. I mean, he's from New York. He's had a very good relationship with the Jewish community. I don't actually regard him as himself an enemy. It's that he's so politically minded that he's decided that an actual Nazi in his party is better than a person promoting morality who's in a different party.
But here's the deal. I'd rather lose my election than sacrifice my principles. So people will say, well, you have to understand why so-called Hakeem does what he does. He has to lead that group. No, he should do the right thing. And if you're not willing to do the right thing, you shouldn't be in Congress. So I have zero respect for the guy. I couldn't have less. I think he would sell us down the river in a moment.
It's all about principle. Congressman Fine, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for being a friend to the Jewish people and to our organization. And we will continue to stand up for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Please appreciate it and keep at it.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Now, Congressman Fine actually generously gave us more time than we were scheduled. So I want to very quickly ask Rabbi Zev Smason to unmute. Rabbi Smason is our national vice president. He was for nearly 25 years the leader of Nusach Ari Anshe Sfard, something like that.
B'nai
Rabbi
Zion.
Smason?
B'nai
Sorry,
Zion.
B'nai Zion Anshe Sfard?
Nusach Ari B'nai Zion.
Nusach Ari B'nai Zion congregation. Sorry. Yes, in St. Louis, Missouri. And he has been running a very successful chapter of CJV in Missouri, influencing the state legislature in the same way that we're trying to work with the national one. The nice thing is, because the state legislature, they do frankly have less to do. Rabbi Smason is able to have a much more direct impact, much more frequent direct conversations with members of the state assembly and the state senate, and some really remarkable progress. Unfortunately, because of time, we've only got about 5 minutes to hear your brilliance, but I really wanted to give you the floor.
Okay, I'll talk fast. I'll make it 10 minutes worth.
Absolutely.
Where would you like me to begin, Rebbe Mencken?
Well, just first of all, coming aboard CJV and your work with the state assembly in terms of passing everything that you've accomplished. Talk about the bills that you've got passed that other people would like to claim credit for. And all that. Go ahead.
Okay, well, first I'll share with you and with all of the people who are here, and welcome to all. It's wonderful to see such a robust crowd today. More than one person has said that all politics are local, and while perhaps a lion's share of politics is exemplified by Rabbi Mencken's great influence on the national scene through CJV and CJV itself, has established a national profile. But there's quite a bit of work that could be done on a state level that can't be done on a national level. And there are things that take place in state legislatures that affect the Jewish communities within those particular states. I happen to reside in St. Louis, Kansas City, at least part of it is in Missouri as well. And there's other Jews scattered throughout the state. And through the establishment of relationships with legislators, so they're surprised when I ask to meet with them, and they've been surprised that when they've asked, well, what can I do for you? My answer has been, what you can do for me is give me the opportunity to be able to support the legislation that reflects the common values that we have. And for the most part, no surprise here, it's been Republicans, and they've looked at it. What I have had to say is a breath of fresh air, because they like Congressman Fine, they haven't met anyone like that before. They haven't met a Jew among the Jews who they met through the alphabet soup of the legacy organizations, who are not progressive and liberal and don't believe in the standard progressive fare. So the line that I use with many of the legislators that establishes who I am and what I stand for representing CJV is that I tell them, I'm one of the Jews that believes in the 10 Commandments, not the 10 suggestions. And then at that point, Christians, serious Christians, they know that for the most part, we're on the same page. So through the establishment of relationships, I've been able to be supportive not only of legislation that's been a benefit to the Jewish community, including a bill that recently passed the Missouri legislature that protects Jewish students in public schools and charter schools from anti-Semitism using the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. So it took a couple of years. The primary opposition was, no surprise here, as Pogo said, we have met the enemy and they are us. The primary opposition to it were individuals in the liberal Jewish community, but nonetheless, it did get passed. And there was a landmark statement of support by the legislature signed by the governor enacting this legislation. And Baruch Hashem, B'siyata Shemaya, with the help of the Almighty, I was able to, on behalf of the CJV, play a role in helping that to be able to get passed. I've also testified. I heard a few moments ago someone raising the question about abortion. I've also testified on behalf of pro-life bills, I've testified against the euphemistically termed gender affirming bills, much to the delight of individuals who share our values on that front, and much to the consternation of individuals who expect someone who's Jewish and someone who's a rabbi to toe the liberal party line and be supportive of those. So establishing relationships over the several years that CJV Missouri has been in place has created a geometric effect, an impact. And I get calls from legislators saying, Rabbi, we've got this bill coming up. Are you available to support it? Are you available to write a letter? And they know that as Rabbi Fine, soon to be Rabbi Fine, as Congressman Fine said, that they know that CJV Missouri is the address when there's a pro-life, pro-Torah, pro-Ten Commandment value, if you will, that needs to be supported. They know that the address is CJV.
Wasn't it the line that you heard from a conservative congressman, you are changing the perception of Jews in the Capitol?
Yeah. Yes, we heard from someone that after we began to go to the legislature, that's exactly what he said, Rabbi Mencken. He said that you're changing the perception of Jews in Missouri. Now, many of these individuals from outlying areas and from rural areas had never met a Jew before and may have never personally spoken to a Jew. So their perception is that this is what it is that Jews believe. And just a very quick anecdote. I was giving testimony in a state Senate hearing, and I was sharing the Jewish perspective, the traditional Torah perspective on life, the sanctity of the unborn child. Euphemistically, again, referred to as a fetus. So a Democratic senator was a bit hot under the collar and atypically asked me as a witness a couple of questions. And she said, well, Rabbi, wait a minute. That's not what the Reform Judaism and Conservative Judaism and the National Council of Jewish Women believe. So upon what basis do you claim to represent a Jewish view? And then I said, well, as a serious Jew, like any serious Christian, we believe that immutable moral values were given 3,300 years ago at Mount Sinai. So that's the basis of my voice representing those values. And then I'll just add, and she said to me, so does that mean that you believe that Reform and conservative Jews aren't good Jews? So I said to her, I don't have God's phone number. I'm not in a position to be able to tell that. But what I can tell you is that I am directly linked to a 3,300-year-old tradition that anybody who believes in the Torah given on Mount Sinai and the Ten Commandments believes in. So the Republicans were smiling from ear to ear. She didn't ask me any further questions, and it's interactions like those that have helped to raise not so much our profile, but our impact. We're not interested in profile, we're interested in impact. And for those of you who are out there who may be in a state that doesn't have a CJV, find a chapter head, someone who's willing to be a chapter head. It doesn't need to be a rabbi, although a rabbi should be the face of the organization. And anywhere from Washington to Florida, from Maine to California, the work that we're doing can absolutely be replicated with the unique flavor of the state that you live in. So if you have any ideas, I operating as the chair or the head of chapter development for CJV. If any of you have any interest in bringing a CJV chapter to your state, please be in touch with me or with Rabbi Mencken.
I will say, in relation to what you just said about the importance of having a rabbi to articulate the values, the development of the Rabbi Dov Fisher Memorial Archive, the archive of position papers that just says, here's what the rabbis believe, is going to enable us to have spokespersons across the country who are not themselves rabbis, who are not themselves even observant necessarily, but they can, because they can access this archive of position papers, they can be like a PR representative who simply articulates, this is what our position is. Their realm may be specific to going to the state assembly and offering these positions. So they might not be doing PR with the media, but at the same time, they will at least be able to have some of that impact simply by bringing it forward. And that's why developing this Rabbi Fisher Memorial Archive is so important to what we're trying to do, because it's going to enable you and your work to replicate, for you to be able to more easily develop state representation all over the country, including from some of the people here. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Rabbi Mason. You know, it's already we're at 4:01. We're over time. Brian, speaking of PR, Brian is our head of public relations, the director of public relations. Brian, are you with us?
Good afternoon. Hi, Rabbi Menken.
Good afternoon. So I don't know if you remember when Jimmy Kimmel used to be funny.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it's all right. But and he had a running thing where it was like, oh, and we ran out of time. We're not going to have Matt Damon today. It was like they kept inviting Matt Damon to the studio and then not putting him on the air. And it was a running joke that they would do it again and again. And I'm not sure if Matt actually was waiting backstage or not, or if it was just the joke for the sake of the joke. But Brian, we don't have time for you. It's after 4 o'clock. We're going to let everybody go. Goodbye. So, no, Brian,
I'll make it quick. I'll make it quick.
But, you know, we were just talking about state spokespersons, the importance of having PR. You get to talk about the importance of public relations to what CJV is doing.
Sure. Well, Rabbi Menken, thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here with you today, and really with everyone in the CJV family, and talk about, you know, why the work that CJV is doing is just so important. It's not easy to follow the Hebrew Hammer, Congressman Randy Fine, but I will certainly try and do my best. So in my line of work, I've had the opportunity to see a lot of Jewish organizations up close and personal. Most of them, from what I've seen, you know, they talk a big game. When push comes to shove, they stay pretty quiet behind the scenes. And what I've seen that makes CJV so different is that when they talk, actions very quickly follow, and they do it effectively, and they do it very loudly. So I've seen how Rabbi Menken and his team have operated behind the scenes, and being very deeply involved and engaged in shaping policy and advising lawmakers. You just heard from Congressman Fine, and also ensuring that the authentic Jewish perspectives are represented where decisions are being made. You know, that they're in conversations that most people maybe never see. You know, advocating with clarity and conviction behind the scenes, but they're really, you know, just CJV is really just has their hands in a lot of different things, whether it's, you know, being out in front, you know, in the media. They're unapologetic, as I think you've seen, whether it's on Capitol Hill or at a state level, or, you know, in the grassroots throughout the country. CJV is really making sure that the voice of Torah values and traditional Jewish values is heard loud and clear. And you know, nowhere I think has that been more evident than in the media. And you know, CJV is really leading from the front on this, and consistently, you know, breaking through a lot of the noise and shaping the national conversation in a lot of ways. I'm sure you've seen Rabbi Menken and other CJV members, you know, securing weekly television hits on, you know, major networks like Newsmax and Real America's Voice. And just last week, Rabbi Menken was in prime time on Fox News Radio, talking about the rise of anti-Semitism in America. And in addition to the TV, you know, there's been op-eds that are routinely placed across top-tier Jewish outlets like the Jerusalem Post and JNS, and also major U.S. platforms like the Washington Times and Newsmax and Daily Wire and Daily Signal and Town Hall and many more. And I'll tell you, it's very important, because it's not an occasional visibility type thing where maybe once a month you see an op-ed, or once a month you see a TV appearance. It is sustained, and it is strategic influence that really helps to ensure that CJ Values, Coalition for Jewish Values, is out in front, and that a strong Jewish identity is being represented really where it matters most. Listen, we're living in a time, we're living in a moment where there's an enormous amount of pressure to dilute Jewish values, for Jews to stay quiet, for Jews to conform. There's a tendency even within parts, I think, of the Jewish world to shy away from being proud of who we are and standing firmly in our traditions. And again, I've had a front row seat to CJV and Rabbi Menken, and they do the opposite. I mean, CJV stands tall in defense of our people and our values. And I just want to highlight really a prime example of this, and I think a lot of you saw it. Kevin Roberts, who's the CEO of the Heritage Foundation, he went after a lot of us, a lot of Jews, and also a lot of our Christian brothers and sisters when we spoke out against Tucker Carlson and his vitriol against the Jewish people. And we were labeled as being part of a venomous coalition. It would have been really easy for Rabbi Menken and CJV to stay quiet, to avoid the fight, play it safe, but that's not what happened. Rabbi Menken, CJV as an organization, really stepped forward immediately and very forcefully, and speaking out with moral clarity, with strength, and with an unapologetic sense of Jewish pride. And I think Rabbi Menken made it really clear that standing up for the Jewish people and standing up for the truth and against dangerous rhetoric from people like Tucker Carlson is not something to be ashamed of. It's something we need to be proud of. It's something that more Jews have to do. And when CJV calls out figures like Tucker Carlson for amplifying narratives that undermine Israel and the Jewish people here in America, CJV didn't do it, to wave the flag that, look at us and look at what we're doing. They did it because it was the right thing to do. While a lot of other Jewish organizations stayed quiet. And honestly, I think that kind of leadership really matters, especially now, because silence in moments, like these that we're living in, is not neutrality. It's surrender. And we have to be very clear about the world that we're living in right now. It has never been at the levels that we're at right now with anti-Semitism, and watching CJV and Rabbi Menken stand proudly for Torah values, standing proudly for the sanctity of life, for religious liberty and religious freedom and moral clarity in our traditions is really amazing. And you see them do it really, without any apology. I just want to take a couple more minutes just to talk about how I see CJV really out there. In addition to being out in front in the media all the time, you saw Congressman Randy Fine just came on here and said that when he gets attacked, there's no other Jewish organization that has consistently and routinely came to his defense and supported him the way CJ Values Coalition for Jewish Values has. That's very important. It's enormously important that CJV has friends like Congressman Fine, and that Congressman Fine knows that he can count on CJV. So that's a little bit about kind of the lay of the land and how I see things. It's really been an honor for me to work with the team here and to help amplify our message throughout all aspects of national and international media. There's been so many people that have made so many generous donations today. But you really should know that a donation today supporting CJV it's more than just backing an organization. It's more than just getting a tax write-off. It's really about backing a voice, an organization that's principled, that's consistent, and rooted in something far deeper than politics. It's about ensuring that the next generation, our people, the Jewish people, that we are a living and breathing commitment to our values, Lador Vador, from generation to generation. So I've seen their work, I've seen their impact. It's an absolute honor to be able to be a very, very, very small part of this impact. But I can tell you it's real, and I can tell you it's not stopping anytime soon. So Rabbi Menken, it's an honor for me to stand with you and stand with the team. And I hope everyone that's listening and watching will do the same. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that. That was absolutely fabulous. And in order to be thanking our donors, we have to give a shout out to Bob Fenichel for coming through. That is another $2,000 of support for the organization, and to Gila and David Weinstein, who just came in with $1,500 of their own that it's not even been entered in the system yet, guys. It's like that hot off the presses because it's coming through their foundation, and just makes all this makes a huge difference. People should not believe that, like if they're given $10, $18, they think, well, that's not significant when you see up on the boards 10,000. It's not that way at all. It's also about the numbers, the idea that we're increasing support, the fact that people across the country are starting to know that, hey, there's this organization that's really making a difference. So I want to say thank you to everybody who's been participating in this. I hope that people took on the message from Ricky earlier on how to create a page, and they're going to go ahead and do that. And if anybody needs the join link, I'm at Mencken at cjvalues.org. Hopefully you guys are members of Coalition for Jewish Values on social media. We're now going to put up we have to put out the announcement that we're 25% of the way to our goal. Again, this is like, what are we now? 7 hours into the 3-day campaign, and we're already a quarter of the way there. So that's a fabulous start. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Brian, for those wonderful remarks. And to all of our guests today, let's see, who is Ricky. And thank you to Mark Hoffman, our Director of Special Projects, Rabbi Mason, our Vice President, Dumasani Washington. I'd say Congressman Rich McCormick yet? Kayla Tony, Adi Karmi, Senator James Lankford, Rabbi Meir Levin, Brian, and of course, Congressman Randy Fine with a beautiful keynote that was really helpful. Thank you so much, everybody, and I hope that this campaign continues to go as well. And thank you, guys. And by the way, before we go, I bet there's last notes in the from CJV team in the chat. Ali Fransman, I was able to look more carefully at this. Oh, I see Zoom. Yeah, that was an I. I want you to contact me. I don't know who you are. I love your energy. We need more people like you involved with CJV. That's true of a lot of the people here. I mean, just if you're sitting through this for over 2 hours, you're obviously very interested in what we do. We really appreciate your energy and your involvement. Want to hear from all of you. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and keep going as far as getting everybody else to join our campaign. Thank you.